Mr. Speaker, in the last week, we've discovered that Britain is facing the deepest recession in a generation. We've had the worst manufacturing figures since 1975, and this morning the Institute for Fiscal Studies said the country's debt burden will take a whole generation to pay off. Can I ask the Prime Minister how deeply the economy will have to contract before he finally admits that there is indeed an economic bust?
Mr. Speaker, can I just quote him from the IFS Green Budget? They don't like it, Mr. Speaker. Our central forecast is that the UK will avoid deep and prolonged recession thanks to the enormous monetary and substantial fiscal stimulus already agreed. Now, if we had taken his advice and done nothing, it would have been a deeper recession.
The Prime Minister seems to be denying now the recession is taking place. Now, extraordinarily complacent. I asked a very specific question about his definition of an economic bust, and I have discovered, Mr. Speaker, that he was asked this question before in front of the Treasury Select Committee, and for once in his life he actually answered it. I have the transcript. Let me read it to him. He referred to reductions of GDP of 1.5%. He was asked by my honourable friend, the member for Chichester, so is that the minimum definition of a bust? And the Prime Minister replied, yes. Now we know that the economy shrank by 1.5% in the last quarter alone. Will he finally admit, even on his own definition, that something every economist, every business, every family in the country knows to be true? He didn't abolish boom and bust.
This is a recession which is facing every country and continent in the world. And everybody except the Conservative Party agrees this is not a unique United Kingdom phenomenon. This is something that has got to be dealt with internationally. He mentioned the Institute of Fiscal Studies. They also said, in current circumstances, the cost of doing nothing is larger than the cost of acting. That is the rebuttal to the Conservative policy of doing nothing.
Doesn't the Prime Minister understand the damage he does to himself and the damage he does to his credibility when he says things that are self-evidently nonsense? It's self-evidently nonsense to say this about the opposition. Our jobs plan has been copied in his jobs plan. Our loan guarantees have been copied in his loan guarantees. When he says these things about the opposition, he doesn't damage us, he damages himself. That's why his poll ratings are going back to Michael Foot levels. Now, let me ask him one more time. Even one of his own advisers said this week, it's against Gordon's nature to do a mea culpa, but at some stage we've got to find the words. Well, why doesn't he find the words now? You didn't abolish boom and bust, did you?
I've said all along that this...
Order. I say to the Leader of the Opposition, he knows the rules of the House and he knows how to phrase a question. Order.
I've said that this is a deep recession. I've also said the truth, that it's hitting every country in the world. I think he would recognise that we were the first to act to deal with the recapitalisation of the banks and stop savers losing their money. He supported that until last week when he walked away from that position. We were the first also to recognise there needed to be a fiscal stimulus, and he will see today that countries that he often quotes, like Canada, are now announcing a big fiscal stimulus. And he will also see that it is right to extend lending. That is the way forward. Look, Mr. Speaker, we can play his game of student politics as long as he wants to play. What the country are interested in is whether we will take the action that is necessary to get us out of the difficulties. We are taking the action. His policies would cut public investment at a time we need it. In other words, he would do nothing to help.